is going on? I am Maximus Rex, once again joined by my good friend Mark Darden, and this is Big Baby Reviews, continuing on with our look at the Image Founding Fathers, their initial offerings in that spring, summer of 1992. By this point, we're, I think, into 1993 because of the missed deadlines and everything. We've hit a lot of third issues, and today's no exception. We are going to be looking at CYBERFORCE #3, cover dated May 1992. Mark, take it away.
Oh, yeah, CYBERFORCE #3. I had a lot of visceral reactions to reading this one. It's a quick read, which I appreciated, but the whole time I'm just going, what's going on? Okay, what is the story in this comic? The main thing I get is I think it just tries too hard to just pretend it's an X-Men book. Like if it was just...
There's a lot of that. Yeah, we'll talk about that for sure. Point out a lot of stuff where it's like, it's copy paste, but even with even less plot, I guess is how I'd put it.
Yeah, it's just very much like, it's like, hey, you've got X-Men, X-Force, now we're CYBERFORCE X. You already know what all these elements are, so we don't really got to explain them. We're just playing off of what you already know. Like, but we don't, because you're a new comic.
We're just X-Men with cybernetics, basically, right?
Yeah, it just looks like they should be showing up to the meeting with the rest of the X-Men and then going off to handle this particular part of the X world.
I remember you bringing up in some past videos how maybe CYBERFORCE were inspired by the Reavers, right?
Yeah.
Is that what they're called? When SILVESTRI was still on Uncanny X-Men. And I kind of get a little bit of that vibe here too in that book. Like you saying that made a lot of sense. And while I was going through the book, I could kind of, it's almost like maybe the germ of the idea was started there, right?
Yeah, having the mutants with cybernetics, except that the Shocks, the bad guy team, is far more befitting since they're more, not exactly grotesque, but they are a bit more monstrous or don't look like they can walk the streets so well, which again, it's too bad they're not the focus of the book. I genuinely like them better. They're a better team.
Well, when we'll talk, there's a character in here is my favorite character from CYBERFORCE. And we haven't encountered him, I don't think, for this issue, because I would have mentioned it. So when we get there, I'll talk about that too. And it's, you know, he's a very, not even secondary, possibly tertiary character, but there's just something about his look. Anyways, when we get to that, we'll talk about that. But this book, out of all the Image founding fathers, you know, they all kind of are like something else. You know, even Wildcats is very X-Men-like. But going through this issue, I really felt like CYBERFORCE is maybe the most unoriginal of all the founding fathers, right? Like maybe Larson is the most original kind of with his character, I feel like, if I had to go over the list, you know.
And Spawn.
Yeah, to a certain degree, sure, but you know, I still feel like he's got a little bit of Ghost Rider and Morbius and that more horror vibe mixed in, but at least that's what differentiated Spawn from the other characters. And the more kind of X-Men, Wildcats, CYBERFORCE kind of deal. And then you've got Shadowhawk, which I've always said I think is a bit of tongue-in-cheek, and Jim Valentino kind of, in a way, doing a slight parody of 90s comics. But yeah, this one's really the most X-Men like. And this issue really kind of, it breaks and is weak because of it, because you start to really realize it in this one. There were elements in issue 1 and 2, sure, but this one really feels like a makeshift kind of X-Men comic.
Yeah. So questions to people who have read this, and really and you just think about this as we go, but so far, do you know anything about these characters?
Not really. There's nothing specific. I know that CYBERFORCE has saved Velocity from Cyberdata, right? There's evil corporation doing evil things to mutants, and that's about it, because this issue is kind of a repeat of what we've already seen in prior issues, right? Yeah. Velocity got away again, and they catch her again, right? So
we don't know friends, family, relationships, job history, education, their purpose in life. Why did they join CYBERFORCE? Why did they, like, not only what did they join it for, but also when did they make the decision to be converted into a cyborg? Like, what was the event that led to that? Was it a choice? Was it because of an accident? We don't know. That's not just something you take a couple of drinks and then pop into a tattoo shop and just decide to
get some cybernetics installed. Yeah, exactly.
We don't know any of this so far. So
Listen, I'd always assumed, but
Mhm.
you're right in pointing out that it's never actually set up until this point by issue 3. But I'd always kind of assumed that they were all maybe earlier on kind of in Velocity's position where they were, subjects of cyber data and given cybernetics.
Mhm.
But that's just me assuming. I don't know for sure. It's never
Which
been actually said in the story.
that's a good point. And if that were the case, then this book would be Harbinger, where they,
Or like, yeah, with a bit of Weapon X mixed into it,
yeah,
right?
all been drafted in, and now this is the group that's broke away and is trying to help others break away. And it's,
Where
yeah,
where that's clear when you read the book. Yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
Uh, One other thing I'll bring up is during this issue, there is a clock running throughout the issue. So the whole issue takes place from 11 o'clock a.m. till 6 p.m., all on a
Okay.
Tuesday. So make note of that. And on page 10, we'll see an error. Um, Other than that, I'm ready to kick off with the issue if you are.
Absolutely, man. Let's get into it. We'll take a quick look at
All
the
right.
cover, I guess, to start off.
Yeah.
Pretty fun cover,
Yeah.
featuring the Wolverine of Image Comics, Pitt, right? And as far as he's guest starred in so many books
The
and
Wolverine
early on,
Image Comics.
yeah, that's kind of like
The
guest star.
Wolverine.
Okay, yeah, no, I see what you're saying.
We
In
got
as much as guest
Cougar,
starring positions,
Warblade,
Ribclaw, I get it.
Ripclaw, Pit,
I'll I'll
the Max,
I'll reserve it to specifically the
the
guest
Wolverine
starring.
of this comic book.
Yeah, there's two Wolverine-esque characters here.
Even in
Point
this
being,
comic book, they have two Wolverines because the other side has the big guy with the multi-arm of blades.
so 3 if you count Pitt once again,
Yeah.
who's Wolverine-ish. Yeah, so we've got a trio of Wolverines. Again, just to be more specific, I'm talking in as much as the guest starring aspect, right, of Wolverine. There was a period at Marvel Comics where he seemed
Uh,
to be in every second comic.
uh,
Pitt is kind of like that, with the added bonus that with all these early guest spots, he actually appeared in other people's books more often than in his own.
because of, yes, how poorly it came out.
Multiple, yeah, because of the deadlines and stuff, right? So you
Mhm.
had 2 or 3 issues of Pitt out, and you had 6 or 7 or 8 guest appearances out at the same time. It's pretty amazing. Everyone just loved Pitt. It was something I guess they liked to draw him.
Yeah.
He is fun to draw.
And everybody included some kind of Youngblood reference.
Absolutely.
Found
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
But yes, yeah, I get your point. Yeah, he is kind of the Wolverine of this universe that he's popping over in everybody's book for the hype. Yeah, I agree with you. I like this cover. It's far simpler than the previous cover where it felt like there's just too many characters, too squashed together, couldn't tell like where's the foreground, middle ground, background. This one is more like what the last one should have been. You got one guy on the ground, possibly the opponent looming over him and another guy trying to take him down. Yeah, it's a very effective cover. It's definitely one of my faves of this series. So does a good job.
Yeah, super, well rendered, what I would expect from Silvestri in he's being inked by Williams. And again, he's still got that slightly rougher kind of penciling style here, although he's slowly morphing into the image hatching and stuff. So I still really like kind of the gruff kind of quality to the whole thing, aesthetically. And I feel like, this is a rare instance where we're kind of going with a classic Frazetta composition, that triangular, I could almost imagine more in a barbarian setting, but these same 3 characters kind of going at it in a Frazetta painting. So I feel there's a bit of that vibe in there in here too. And yeah, I would agree. This is probably the best Cyberforce cover up to date. Yeah, and definitely is a good preview of what's going to be in the issue, which is always fun when the cover is actually telling you a little bit at least of what you're going to encounter in the book.
I feel like Image Comics was far more down with covering over the title of the book, though. Like most companies want to make sure they maintain that as prominent. And if they have to cover a small piece of it, but still readable, okay. But they're covering a whole lot of it. They're not even
It was
doing that
pretty
thing.
common. You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, overlapping figures and stuff. Listen, maybe that's part of the whole basic argument between Marvel and the Image guys before they left or as they were leaving. This idea that Marvel was like, the characters sell the books, and the guys are saying no, the art sells the books, so we sell the books, right? So they're almost saying, in a way, really, what's selling this cover is the art, not the logo,
Yeah.
right? I feel like there's a little bit of that too. Logo should look nice, should be aesthetic. It's there to inform you what the name of the book is. But ultimately, you know, if CyberForce was drawn by Silvestri and it was called something else, I would still buy it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. With the image eye. If it didn't have the
Even
image
if it
eye,
said,
then,
you know, Cyber X mutant copies,
uh-huh.
I would still buy this book. And then I just take it as an X-Men parody, which maybe through that lens, it's a little more fun.
Yeah. All right. Cracking up.
Unfortunately, that wasn't the intent. So at least I don't think it was.
Oh, yeah. Credits page. Still got his family member writing. Dan Panosian doing inks. He goes over to Profit, right? That's where Dan ends up.
Pretty soon, yeah. Prophet is probably what he's most known for with
Yeah.
kind of the early image days. Yeah, so you've got Dan Panosian, Mark Silvestri himself doing some of the inks, and
Yeah.
Trevor Scott.
Scott. Yeah.
Hopefully I'll remember as we go through. I feel like I can pinpoint some pages, um,
Oh, okay.
who did which pages with certain little details. So I'll try to point those out.
Yeah.
But specifically Dan Panosian, I'm pretty sure he inked this first page and the next double page splash that we're going to look at, because you can kind of see the telltale. He does really square fingers, you know, kind of Kirby-ish square fingers, and he did a lot of that on Prophet. So when I look at the fingers of the character here, I kind of recognize the aesthetic look of the hands in Prophet. So I feel like, you know, he's his hatching is usually more angular and thicker as well. So maybe not so apparent on this page, but on the next, I'll point that out. And Trevor Scott, he inked J. Scott Campbell. That's probably what he's most known for when J. Scott Campbell eventually was doing Gen 13. And he's got kind of a finer line. And again, it mostly shows up in the further away characters and the backgrounds and stuff where you notice a little bit more of the inkers, I guess, more natural instincts as an artist. Anyways, I'll try to point those out as we go through.
Okay. I was for some reason I was thinking Trevor Scott had done the Backlash series. Thought I'd remember.
He probably inked it. Brett Booth was the artist, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I mean, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, this story opens up actually just like issue 1 did, where like when you open the next issue, it follows right upon where they left off. You know, last issue ended with they're driving off in this van. These are the thieves who stole the disc that Timmy swallowed because they weren't paying attention to the super valuable disc that they were hired to steal. And then they get blasted by Psychotron. Great name, doesn't connect to his powers, but they get blasted by Psychotron and their van crashes. But their conversation here is just like, oh no, we're in another accident. And they're just sitting there. Like there's not this like getting out of the van, like we got to get out and like we just got attacked and like your van just got blasted. You saw the guy do it. You should be moving, like have some agency here. You got to go. It's weird.
Speaking of good names, I don't think they reveal on this page. It's on the next page, but I'll just say it. The double guy, the Nazi with the British dude. His name is hilarious to me. It's Splitzkrieg. I thought that was so hilarious. Like I really like. I don't want to say it's stupid, but like it's a pun, right?
Yeah,
clearly on Blitzkrieg.
Yeah,
but I thought that was hilarious. It's a pretty good name for a pretty forgettable character.
Yeah, it is pretty good. But yeah, just the fact they're not running. My other issue is that we really don't know. I think they're called Megasoft was the company that they stole from, and we still no clue like what's on these discs. Why are they valuable? Why did they need to steal them? Why are the other people trying to steal them from them? Like we'll find out who's behind it, but we will there's just nothing about these discs. Just like we got to get them, but they're totally MacGuffin so far.
100%, yeah, because we don't actually know what the disc entails, right? So
yeah, so it's making it very hard to care. Is the problem I had like through most of this issue? My big beef was like I don't care because you're not giving me a reason to care. They stole discs, okay. They stole 50 cents as far as I know. I don't care. Those could be what's that your mom's photos on there? I don't know.
Naked pictures of your ma.
Yeah, I mean, based on the fact they just set them on the console and didn't care about them, seemed like they weren't that valuable. Now somebody's attacking them to get the disc back. Okay, let them have them because what are they worth? We don't. What's their purpose? It's annoying to me.
Why even lay it out too in the van? Like, why not just keep it in a pocket? You know,
Yep. You'd keep it in a
like
pocket, a pouch. As soon as you grabbed it, you'd already
something with a zipper on it that you can close, right?
yeah.
Like,
These are just discs. You wouldn't be running out with gun in one hand, disc in the other. Like you'd have already put them away, secured them. It's logical. Hurts my feelings.
oh, real quick, just on the first page, just some
Oh,
art mention.
yeah.
I really like the panel at the bottom though, with Splits Creek busting out at the top of the van.
Yeah.
I like the fact that he chose a diagonal. The action's really dynamic. The
Mhm.
pieces of scrap in the arm overlap the panel, which
Yeah.
gives it even more dynamics and layering. And he was clever in this shot where he didn't have to throw in the backgrounds. The way he used that corner panel to crop like just the bit of van, I think
Mhm.
is just really smart drawing. And I just wanted to point that out because it's super effective and deadline friendly.
Okay, I will agree with you. As I berate this issue, which I think I'm going to do throughout most of it, I'm not talking about the art. Art,
The art's amazing. The art's
yeah,
great. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's fantastic. I mean, we've got the street in the background. There's figures next to the van, figures over here on the left side, right side. So there's people, there's buildings. Even behind in panel 2, through the windshield, we still get some kind of background there. So by panel 3, fine to, like you've already established, we know where they're at. Keeping the van at an angle makes sense though, because it crashed down in. So every
Oh,
shot
you're right. You're right.
down,
It is at an angle already. Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
the angles down, then it's them in the van leaning down, and then it's them in the van but punching their way out. So he kept it consistent.
And you're right. That first panel, that establishing shot, very cool.
Yeah. Yes.
Very cool.
Very,
Good, just good storytelling in that one.
absolutely. Um, I will point out that this is one of the few times that you get that classic female shot, but it's a dude doing it, where it's all shot with him being like, "Yeah,
You're
what's
right.
guys?
Yeah.
Hey,
It's a TNA shot. We're just
you
not
like
seeing
this?
much of the T. Yeah,
I'm,
yeah,
I'm not just a blaster.
yeah.
It's pretty rare.
Maybe he's telling us he can blast from other parts of his body as well.
Maybe,
Maybe
maybe.
that's he's. I mean, those glutes are pretty developed.
Mhm.
That's got to throw out some powerful gas.
You'll notice Buzz Cut does not come with them. The guy that Rip Claw ripped up in issue number 2, that
Oh
was
yeah,
supposed to be his big rival, so he's down for the count, I guess.
he's getting repairs done at Cyberdata.
Yeah, and Ballistic doesn't come along on this either. It's just the 3 of them this time.
Yeah. So I was talking about the Dan Panosian. This is 100% him on the inks. I guarantee you. I
Okay.
really see it in the 2 figures on the right, which is Splitskrieg. The
Mhm.
shadow, the double lighting, the like this again, the square fingers. It's almost like on this page, that specific area of the art looks
Oh,
to me more like Dan Panosian on Profit than Mark Silvestri.
oh, okay, all right.
There's something about the rendering and the contour of the face there. Whoever the British guy is in Splits Krieg, whether he's Splits or Krieg, I'm not sure,
Mhm.
but that face right there would fit in perfectly. That whole aesthetic right into Profit. This
Yeah.
could be Profit without his helmet on.
Okay. Yeah, I hear you on that. We get this cool silhouette of the other guy in the van getting out. I think that's a nice touch. You can almost miss him because he's in such dark shadow, but the shape's
It's
there.
cool. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
The lighting is really kind of dramatic and cool.
Again, and this might be because of how his power works, but they went dull on that energy guy again, where when we saw that initial image where there were all the energy spikes coming off of him and he looked so cool. And then you liked that other version where he was just like Kirby crackle all over. And then in this, just like you're kind of Silver Surfering it.
It's like he's streamlining it more and more graphically, where he's like, yeah, that looks really cool, but like takes a long time to draw. So
Yeah.
what's like, how can I streamline this to the point? And like you said, like the Silver Surfer is that good example of someone had said, I don't know if Jack Kirby himself said it, but it's basically Jack Kirby simplifying all the complicated bits of the human figure, right? No ears, no eyebrows, and his feet are just pointed like boots, right? So I feel like Silvestri with this character was probably really jazzed about it when he first came up with him, threw it
Mhm.
down on a page with all that cool looking power emanation. And then every time subsequently that he's got to draw him, he's like, oh, man, okay, let me tone this down a bit and tone it down to where, yeah, he's getting pretty generic at this point. What was cool about him is no longer there.
Do some loose pencils and let the inker jazz it up.
Absolutely.
There
Yeah,
are
yeah, yeah. It just, and visually it just seems like he's actually getting weaker, like
oh,
throughout the issues, right? Like it just,
yeah.
he has none of the impact here that he had in that first appearance.
Yeah. Yeah.
If this was the first time I saw him, I'd be like, that's a pretty lame
Yeah.
character.
Yeah, totally. It would not appeal at all. We just get these 2 pages of fight, and my one major issue with the fight is just there's a whole lot of back and forth chitter chatter,
Too
likening
much.
the fight to music, but none of it plot advances. Like, we know so little about these characters. Use this time here to tell us details. A, call each other by name to remind us who the heck these people are, because we've barely seen them and we don't know who they are yet, especially the thieves. I refer to them as the thieves because I have no idea what their names are. And the bad guy team, I barely have a clue because I've had to look it up over and over again. But just like, use this time to express some details, give us a little insight, or at least tell us about the mission. Be back and forth about why this is happening, so we're at least in on that.
Yeah, and it seems almost like it's almost like a wrestling kind of show where they're throwing promos at each other. That's kind of what it felt like when I was reading this part here, just cutting promos on each other while they're blasting away or throwing rocks or whatever. Yeah, just a lot of action that doesn't seem to go anywhere. That's kind of like, fairly gratuitous, I guess is how I'd put it here. Again, art wise, looks amazing. I got nothing to say. You got some awesome dynamic foreshortening with that character in the second panel. Don't know what his name is. I kind of like his design. He's kind of like I don't know, like a midget Badrock, I guess, or
Yeah.
it's funny how a lot of these designs now, from especially the team books, the Wildcats and Youngblood, Cyberforce, some of the design ideas start to overlap and stuff. And I kind of see, when I was a kid, obviously I was really into this stuff, but I can kind of see some of the old timers, some of the criticism they would throw Image Comics way. I can kind of see some of that here, right?
Yeah. Yeah, you can't see it. Totally.
Story wise as well.
Yeah, no, I mean, this comic is like the perfect example of like what they were complaining about, of like, yeah, that's some nice art, but can we get a story so that we can get invested and care about these events? Because so far I don't. You guys are fighting over some discs that I don't care about. Not at all. Just tell me what's on them. Tell me something about who you work for. Um,
I
but
agree.
instead, they kind of have a little back and forth, and then the thieves give up quick and are just like, yeah, okay, take the disc and the kid, and then they move on. Yeah,
If just one more thing about the
sure.
last page, there's just this one little bit of dialogue that kind of makes me laugh, and I don't know if that was necessarily the intention, but I'll just read it real quick. It's up top on the right hand page where Splitskrieg is talking, and then the second guy, the British guy, says, "By Jove, you're right, Carl. Although I would have chosen the more civilized styling of this Jaguar." It feels like a kid's idea of a British person,
Oh,
right? So British people say "by Jove," right? So I'm going to throw that in there. And then, British people perceive them as being civilized, right? So I'll throw that word in there. And then he's grabbing a car, so it's got to be a Jaguar, right? Because that's like a British person's car. I almost feel like, they're really trying to hammer this idea that he's British, but like the British references are pretty weak, I guess is how I put it.
yeah,
So that
probably.
whole bit just made me laugh.
Yeah, probably from like a British comedy. Yeah,
What
I
little he's seen, you know what I mean? Like skit shows or whatever, I
yeah,
guess.
yeah, I can recall like most uncivilized, and I think
Right?
it's
It's just something when you don't know a lot about British people, you kind of associate with them, right?
yeah. Oh yeah, I had mentioned. So this starts at what is that, 11:08 a.m.
That's right.
Westchester. So they do let us know when and where, because as we get on to the next scene, now we're 11:27 a.m. It's very 24 in this regard. This specific time.
Sure. Very specific.
This, so I hate this first page. Again, not because of art, but storytelling. You cut in, okay, hey guys, we're at the gas station. Okay, cool. Good job
We
there.
know this spot now. Yeah,
That's
we know
good.
that's where they're hiding underground. Yeah.
Yep, that's good. We're gonna cut to the two guys. They're talking back and forth, kind of like mentioning like basically these other two people spar a lot, and it's real intense. Okay,
You
then big
mean you mean you mean Wolverine and Psylocke in the Danger Ring?
yeah, yeah, they're sparring like like they usually do, because they're both intense warriors.
That's right.
And then in a tiny panel, a tiny little panel. They get the significant plot detail that actually matters. Hey guys, this is Chip. Okay, I've lost Timmy. He's gone. Probably need some help. Come quick. And so, and then the next panel next to it, like almost faded out on a little screen. It's like Chip, and like, oh, okay, Chip, hang on, we're on our way. Like,
Yeah,
okay,
so little real estate given to the actual important kind of plot point on the page. Yeah.
yeah,
Again, we talked about the anchor images and the money shots, right? This is definitely a good example of that, where the emphasis really went on the shot of Ribclaw and Psylocke in training, whatever you want to call that, practice or whatever,
Blade.
uh, rather than the most important plot point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I picture storytelling wise, yeah, keep your gas station shot. Then maybe at the top do like silhouettes back and forth of them fighting. So you could get a few images in, but you'll need a lot of detail. And
Yeah.
then you could cut to the screen monitor of Chip of like, guys, lost Timmy, I need your help. And then have the two fighters stop, do close-up face shots, and then be like, uh-oh. And then like he gives the details, like, yeah, I'm here, and the van's gone, Timmy's gone, need your help quick. Back to the two fighters. We'll put this on hold. We got to go. And then show the team racing off, like visual storytelling. You could miss the story. You could turn to this page and just be paying attention,
Absolutely.
like,
Yeah.
oh, cool fight shot, and keep rolling because the actual story is on 20% of the page or less.
There's like a tug of war between the actual narration and dialogue, the writing on the page, and the art. So when you turn to this page and you see the money shot, what you're going to retain mostly is, oh, it's, while I'm going through this comic, the other guys are kind of, at the motherboard at the top there, and Ribclaw and Psylocke are facing off, right? But you're not going to remember the important plot point, like you said, if the page is recomposed to give more emphasis to what's actually important on the page. There's just a disconnect between the two. And I was going to say, I feel like this book more than any other image book. I think a lot of the image books were done Marvel method, but when you have like say Todd McFarlane writing and drawing, and Eric Larson doing Savage Dragon, and Shadowhawk is also written by Jim Valentino. I can understand those guys don't have to write themselves a script, right? They probably draw a lot and they have an idea about the plot and they kind of draw it out, and then the characters are kind of going to say this and go back and dialogue it. But because it's the same person, it feels fairly coherent. Here you've got Mark Silvestri more than likely doing the plot. I don't think he's writing any kind of anything down, just drawing what he wants to draw story wise, and then handing it over to his brother, who is credited as writer. And all right, now you kind of make sense of this and add dialogue where you think it's going to move the story along. And that's what happens on this page here. It's just we can easily lose that plot point because we're just being distracted by the diamond of Ribclaw and Psylocke, right? That's kind of, and I feel like, Rob Liefeld does a lot of that too, where the dialogue comes in after and it gets awkward and it's got to try to explain things that aren't actually in the art in that instance. So I definitely feel like that's what's going on here. There's a huge disconnect between dialogue narration and the actual, there's two stories fighting each other, the visual story and the written story. That's what I'm trying to say
Yeah,
long-windedly.
I hear you. That makes a lot of sense. Even in these, now that you bring it up, even in these final panels where all the story takes place, a lot of it is covered over by the fight breaking out of its panel into these lower panels. Just move those figures up, cover those two dudes talking up there instead, and keep, maybe separate those panels, get a little white space in there so that they stand out. Because I bet as a kid, I might have missed even reading them.
Sure.
Just
Yeah.
what's this unimportant
There's
stuff below
the,
this guy's legs?
the exact thing that you said about the dialogue at the bottom of the page, which is basically the most important stuff that's happening on this page in the visual hierarchy, if I can start using big complicated words, is at the very bottom. And that's why you don't really retain it. And that's why you feel like I'm not getting a lot of story in this book. I'm really not. But if you look at these two pages, they sell really well at a convention.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. From that standpoint, makes a whole lot more sense of being able to flip this and sell it at a convention, because you'd want to buy this page because you get a money shot. But if you want to buy this comic because you ain't getting no story.
We've talked about even the other image guys by issue 3. Some of them are doing all right, and some of them seem to be floundering a little bit. Well, I think this is like the worst offender, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
Mark Silvestri is the weakest of the bunch in the story at this point, at least for me.
Well,
whatever flaws the other storylines have, still doesn't beat out how ineffectual the storyline is. At least up till now. Maybe issue 4 will fix all that, but
Hopefully.
I doubt it.
So the next page over, we get the Shocks. Well, we already saw them show. They show up. They rip into the van because they've been told like, "Oh, the boy. Oh, what boy?" They open the van like, "Oh, sweet velocity. Guess we can recapture you like we already did once before." And all right, we'll grab you. We're grabbing Timmy.
Yeah, back to square one.
Yeah. Hey, this has all worked out swimmingly for us because I don't think we've even been told this yet, but they were hired to steal these discs back. That hasn't been revealed yet. I think it comes down the line in the comic, but this, I believe, if I'm remembering right, it's basically like the mayor guy who's kind of the evil human who's trying to get rid of the mutants, hired these thieves to steal disc from, I think, his own company. Again, this plot is difficult to follow because it's just not well told. But I think he hired them to steal disc from his company so that they'd make mutants look bad by being thieves, stealing something.
Oh, okay. So they're going to blame the mutants for the theft of the disc, like a false flag.
The theft that he paid for, hoping no one catches the paper trail, and then hires the Shocks to steal the disc back. Okay, why? Oh well, look, I got my disc back. Oh, because the Shocks stole them back for you from the mutants. Who hired the mutants? Well, okay.
Yeah, it seems overly convoluted when it really doesn't need to be, right?
Yeah, this is not lock, stock, and two smoking barrels here. You got a pretty simple story to tell. I think I'm trying to piece it together and figure it out. But I was gonna say, Killjoy does this weird thing where she's like, all your danger is in the past, and then it's almost as soon as she sort of acts like she's a little bit the good person, she's like, you should know by now, Velocity, you can never get away. Ha ha ha. So it's weird.
That's trying to play like the good cop a little bit.
Yeah, well, because she says you'll be safe from now on. Like, why would you think you'll be safe from now on, and then go, Velocity, you never get away.
Well, that's the writer saying, "Oh yeah, let's not forget that she's an evil person or working for evil cyber data." I guess. It's a character trait he's trying to work in there.
I don't know what the switch is for.
Maybe because her name is Killjoy, so she gives her a bit of joy, but then she kills it. I don't know.
Hey, you're doing a better job than they are of trying to make this make sense.
We got to redo CyberForce, dude.
Yeah, that could be a major project of just redoing all the Image books. I don't know that I have the time.
Oh, we lost the ad.
Oh yes. Oh darn. If only we had that sweet ad. We do get to see our Asian reporter again, which is kind of cool.
I was going to ask. That is, you agree, right? The Asian reporter from Channel 4. Does that work with what she is in Spawn? That's cool.
Yeah.
Good detail. See, that stuff was always fun, right? We always love that kind of intercompany continuity stuff, even the smaller level of just the journalists and stuff. It's always fun.
Yeah, and working her into the story a little bit, that is cool. We get a little bit of plot advancement here that basically there's a housing project and it's for mutants. So the mutants in this case are very much the minority that's impoverished and have been pushed into an area, but now someone's trying to take it back. So here's the mutants. They're in this ghetto housing, and they're I think the mayor, the governor, whoever he is, I forget what he works for. He's kind of trying to push them out. And here's their mutant representative that's like, we're not going to stand for this. You're not going to push us out. I'm wearing a suit. Take me seriously. Oh, now I'm taking you hostage. Like, okay, I don't think that's going to help you. That's a bad switch. Poor strategy.
Also a bad reveal to have it happen on the last panel of the page. Could have been on the page turn. You know what I mean? And also, with the kind of design you've come up with this guy, the look he's got on his face in that first introductory panel, the close-up of his face, I wasn't expecting, this guy to be like, a good guy, basically. Oh. You know what I mean? Like right away, it's like, well, this guy's, gonna turn or do something bad for sure. And it doesn't even take a whole page turn for him to actually do it. So it's, I felt it would have been just story-wise, if you make the guy look more normal or more
Uh-huh.
less insane and looks like a psychopath to me, right? At this
Yeah.
point, it's you know he just don't judge a book by its cover, but this guy has no good intentions. Is basically what I'm trying to say. So if you want to have that reveal of taking someone hostage be surprising, maybe don't make him look so evil.
Yeah. Yeah. If he had a face transformation, if he had a power to kind of look more normal for
Sure.
a while,
Yeah,
and then the
absolutely.
facade fades and then he does the evil thing,
Even
that
that would be better. Yeah, absolutely. But when he takes her hostage in that last panel, I'm like, well, yeah, of course. Pretty much expected that.
yeah. And the clock moved forward again. It's still Tuesday, but now it's early 12 o'clock over in Brooklyn, New York. So they keep giving us the time of day and where we're at. And I kind of like this feature. I like what they're doing with that one. Do you have anything more about this page?
I was just going to mention real quick that I have noticed that the colors are a little more pulled back than maybe the first few issues. Remember, I complained a lot about just being a lot of blue and sometimes very dark. I
Uh-huh.
feel like they found kind of a better balance contrast wise with the colors. Still using, I think it's is probably still Joe Scioto. Yeah, doing the colors, still doing a lot of blues and oranges, which I like.
Yeah.
And like better in this issue as opposed to issue 1 and 2. Just want to throw that out. I feel like he's gotten a better handle again on the contrast on these pages to not make them too dark.
I would also give credit to the fourth panel where they've got the silhouettes where obviously there's somebody's getting in a tussle with the police, and you know they're the police because despite the silhouettes, they give you the badge. So the
Yep.
badge in white, so that stands out. Plus the hats, obviously, and having the clubs, and then the silhouettes of the people in the background, but that's in this purple, so they very well help to set off the figures in the front that are silhouetted in black, but they still have signs.
Yeah, the layering really works well and is very clear. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a nice looking, like simple, effective panel for sure.
Yeah, that's pretty. And then the camera guy in the next panel, who he's all in black, framing the reporter, but you can also see the hand coming in, so you know something about is about to happen. Which again would also be more effective if the
As
reveal.
the last panel, right? Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
Because then you don't, if that's the last panel on the page, you see the hand,
mm-hmm.
but you don't necessarily already know whose it is. So there's still a bit of mystery there.
Yeah.
It's a
Well,
nice
why it's
touch,
there?
but the hand makes you want to turn the page, right?
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree. So then,
Here
boom.
he is. Here he is. Sorry.
Yeah, we cut from okay, so it was 12:05. We cut to 1:34 over at
Okay.
Cyberdata. Now I was confused. When I read this as a kid, I assumed Mother May I ran Cyberdata. I just thought she's the enemy, the Magneto-ish character, and Cyberdata is her organization. As I'm rereading it, I get the impression Cyberdata is its own entity over
She's
here,
working with them or
and
something.
Mother May, yeah, is like hired them to do things. But
Sure.
meanwhile, this mayor guy has also hired them to do things. Because
So that are opposing goals, probably.
yeah, like my impression now is Cyberdata is basically the arms dealer who's just supplying to two sides of a war. And so think that is what I think is happening is Mother May I hired Cyberdata to help her set up her plot, which as far as I'm starting to understand is Velocity is supposed to be her memory was wiped so that they can set her up to be an assassin, but she escaped. Now
Yep.
they've got her back. They need to re-wipe her mind, reset her up to be an assassin. And she had the Cyberdata people going to capture her. But meanwhile, those same Cyberdata people are the folks who restole the disc to get him back to the mayor guy who's trying to run the mutants out of town. I
That's
think.
crazy. I
Yeah,
think. Yeah, exactly.
I think that's what the plot is.
Well, I'm going to retain that Cyberdad is double dipping, basically.
Yes.
Like that's clear to us. And, moving on, we can at least say that's for sure. I guess we'll find out later exactly what's going on with the mayor and Cyberdata and just a lot of backstabbing, it seems like going on amongst these elite corporations or government organizations. Yeah, I don't know. Well, guess we'll have to pay more real close attention to figure it out as we go through this issue and the next.
Yeah.
Um, so I like the establishing shot, the long vertical panel with the
Yeah.
building. That always makes
Right.
sense when you're dealing with a skyrise. It's
Yeah.
got a cool kind of technological, futuristic look. I like all that stuff. Here's the character that I was talking about at the beginning of the video. This
Yeah.
guy here on the left,
Yeah.
this anthropomorphic deer, cyber deer guy,
Warbuck.
and his name is Warbuck,
It's
which is
awesome.
which is awesome, right? And I don't know if they got it from Daddy Warbuck or something, because I think that's where that term comes from.
Daddy
Not
Warbucks.
exactly sure, but like
He was
in the
Daddy
context of Daddy Warbucks,
because he had
go
money.
ahead.
Yeah.
Right? And yeah,
Warbucks
but
because
in
he had
this
money.
case, it's a pun, and he's
Yeah.
a war buck, right?
Yeah.
I
He's
just
the buck.
again,
Yeah.
like Splits Krieg, that same
Yeah.
kind of deal. Jack Kirby does a lot of that, and I've always kind of just sometimes some of them don't work so much, and I'm just kind of like, all right, but some of them I just genuinely like. I only
Yeah.
a few years ago, realized Mr. Miracle, right? His name is Scott Free, right? I knew of the expression to get off scot free.
Yeah.
I knew of that expression. For years, I didn't put the two together,
Yeah.
right? And with his background being, in Granny Goodness's kind of child camp and raised to be kind of a child soldier, and he escapes, he gets off scot free, right? Like all of that, I think is amazing. But I think I'm really stupid to have taken so many years to put the two together. But anyways, I love this character. I love like we get so little of him. We get 2 or 3 panels, I think, in this issue. Like there's this one, then he's protecting Mother May I, and then he gets shot. And I know he's in issue 4 for a bit, but again, pretty inconsequential to the storyline. He's kind of Mother May I's really bad bodyguard who gets injured right away. But I love the name.
Yeah.
I love the look. I love the color scheme. I think visually, right away, he's more interesting than all of the Cyberforce characters. And I've mentioned before how I do like the design of Mother May I. Like these 2 characters here would have made an interesting, different, hopefully somewhat original comic for Mark Silvestri. So there's just again, something about both of their designs, and especially this guy Warbuck. I would have loved to have seen more of him. I just really like his whole look, the name, everything.
Yeah. Like, I mean, like we said, like the shocks were really, really cool looking, way cooler looking than Cyberforce was. I agree with you. If Mother May I is the central figure of the comic and Warbuck is one of the guys, and then I think, Ripclaw's awesome, Striker's pretty cool. And then over from the shocks, like if you get the energy guy, I'm forgetting his name at the moment, but keep the cool look of him. I like Killjoy. I think with her sort of half jacket piece, and she's kind of fast and she's more quippy and has like the face makeup on top. She's very cool looking. Psychotrom's decent. I don't mind him. Actually, that big guy with the multi-blade arm, I thought was
he would have been cooler. Yeah, he would have been cooler than Impact for sure.
Way cooler than Impact.
The big guy, and even more, I think, like Impact. When I look at him, he seems to only really have cybernetic elements to his costume. I don't know that it's actually part of him, or it doesn't seem that way necessarily. Where when you see the guy with the 3 arms, what's his name again?
Buzzcut.
Buzzcut.
Yeah.
He's clearly a cyborg. He's got cybernetic elements and almost more kind of like, he's maybe an older model, not quite as sleek as the Cyberforce guys in his application of cybernetics. I kind of like that. It's almost like you could, and like you said, with the villains in the book, you could reshuffle these characters and make a much cooler Cyberforce team. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This guy Warbuck, maybe Mother May I is the leader of Cyberforce or something, and throw in Buzzcut and Killjoy and all the coolest looking characters we've been introduced to up to this point.
And they could also,
that's what we should do. That our Cyberforce book should be that.
And streamline it. You could have better develop the mayor, governor, whatever his position is, and his side that's trying to run mutants out, streamline to just Mother May I being the opposer, and then the team that's actually operating for her, Cyberforce. Then you can just have like, well, maybe they don't, they're following along with what she's telling them to do, but maybe they divert at some point, rather than having Cyberforce, Mayor, Mother May I, Cyber Data playing both of these sides, and Cyberforce is over here trying to figure it out. And how do we handle this? It's too many. It's a little bit similar to where Wildcats works. Like you've just got too many different factions competing within a very small miniseries where you need introductions, you need some kind of conflict, and you need to be able to introduce us to the characters and resolve.
I was going to say they're all new characters. It's not like when you were working on X-Men and you're dealing with the X-Men that have been around for a while and there's lots of backstory and people know all these things that you don't have to explain. You have to, establish some of this stuff because these characters haven't been in books before. They just haven't been seen. So yeah, listen, I think right away, if he had just stuck to kind of the conflict between Cyberforce and Cyberdata and just leave it at that for this first miniseries, little cleaner, simpler storytelling, simpler in this instance for Image Comics. I think they try to do a lot of complicated bits and extra things and convoluted stuff where if they had just kind of stuck to a more simple formula, the books would have been more effective. The art is great. There's nothing, no one's going to complain about that. But, just it's their first time writing. Most of these guys, we've talked about this, they're getting their brothers and their friends just to help them write who aren't necessarily proven writers as well. So it's like, just keep it simple, stupid. What's the KISS, right? The acronym? Just keep it simple, stupid.
Yes. My other beef with this is now that I've learned what the thing is with Velocity, that they're mind wiping her so she can be an assassin, I think, to take out the mayor governor guy. I think that's who she would be targeting.
Yeah.
But why would you choose her? You've recaptured her multiple times. So she's not that great. You've got other people that are far more effective. Why aren't you using one of them?
You've got these other operatives like Killjoy or Ballistic or I agree. Is it because Velocity can get it done like super fast? Maybe that's the reasoning, but it's not explained, right? And if it's that's kind of weak,
Killjoy seems like that now to bring it up. Like that's your perfect person to use. And then when they rewipe her mind and then find out, she's not such a terrible person, and turned out she didn't want to assassinate that guy. That makes a lot more sense. The next page over, you get that cool, obviously we get this cool facial shot, and
it's a great page. It looks really cool.
Visually a great page.
And she's kind of hypnotizing Timmy because she's mentioned, here's something I'll mention about the writing too. I noticed in this issue, a lot of thought balloons appear. And I don't know if there were a lot of thought balloons in prior issues. And it's almost like they're added in again to help explain things, right? That maybe they wrote all the dialogue, even just what people actually saying, and then, we'll do it in a thought balloon. So at the top there, Velocity, where have I seen her before? Right? So that's, that's kind of a very overt, obvious way of throwing that idea out. And then down here, Mother May I, incredible. He's a robot. I've never seen one so advanced. His neural net configuration is almost human. I wonder if I can use that to my advantage. Wasn't there a less kind of, ham-fisted way of explaining this about Timmy all the way throughout issues 1 and 2 and up to this point? This is very kind of just I need to throw this in. We forgot. And that's what I feel like the thought balloons are doing here.
Yeah. Also, a lot of it feels like it should be dialogue, and less of it needs to actually be a thought balloon.
It could be actually dialogue. Yeah, for sure. There's a sequence later with Stryker where that's a very obvious example. I'll try to point it out. But at least it leads us to understand how she's able to hypnotize a robot kid on the next page. And I just love the way he does it on this page, that close-up shot of Mother May I, where clearly she's getting into his mind or hypnotizing him somewhat. Like I think the whole visual language storytelling of this page is pretty solid for what it's trying to get across.
Yeah. I don't like how they broke up the dialogue, though, of Mother and May I is having the back and forth with Timmy, and then it breaks away to Velocity as she's being pulled out of the place. Where are you taking me? Like, just move that over so that's the end.
Right.
Yeah.
So even though they're both kind of in the same panel, Mother May I, Timmy, and Velocity in the guard here, you almost create the idea that there's two panels so that you read the left first and then move into the right. Yeah. Because I definitely feel like as you're moving down, it's more natural for us to go like, your mother needs to see that program right away and then go to, will you show it to me? Right. But of course, when you read this and you're following the word balloons, you go to the little bit of dialogue there, and it just cuts up the dialogue between Mother May I and Timmy needlessly, and probably again another little thing that leads to us being a little bit confused to certain story elements.
Yeah, yeah. I found it. Yeah.
But
No.
such a beautiful page. Really like it.
Yes. Visually great, beautiful page. Uh
Oh yeah.
yeah. So the time, this is what I was gonna point out, like as the time's been going, like they're at 12:05. Okay.
Yeah.
Now they're at 1:34. Okay. That's a lot of time has passed. It's been smaller increments before. Now it's 12:48.
So they're going back in time?
Yeah, they messed up through the entire comic. It all moves correctly.
Because I was
11:08.
going to say the actual story without those little indications is happening in chronological order. There's no reason for it at some point to go back in time
No.
for some sort of story point or something.
Yeah, I think they just messed
See?
up because 11:08,
That seems like it. Yeah,
11:27,
yeah, yeah.
12:05, 1:34, and then 12:48. So, and it's the only place where they fudge it and mess it up. So I don't know. It's small, but it's annoying because you've set up this thing where it's working. This what time it is. Here's where we are. Now it's this time. Now we're here. This time we're here. Whoops.
Now we're going, yeah. You've established the one kind of constant story element that works, and now you fucked it up, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you were so close. So it's really frustrating. Like, yeah, nobody caught that and went, oh, we could just change the time to this, or just flip these times. Just flip them.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's too easy. Uh,
Well, this kind of a funny way to introduce Pitt, I think, on this page, just because I'm like,
yeah,
he's keeping it in silhouette for panel 2 and 3 mostly, which
yeah,
I'm okay with.
yeah.
But I'm like, are you trying to keep the mystery as to who this guy is and how he's guest starring in the book? I mean, we
Well, they
know
say
it's
who he
Pitt.
is.
They say who he is, but it's
Yeah,
almost like they're trying to not do the full physical reveal. Where, I mean, we've seen Pitt by this point, and he's on the cover, so there's no real reason for it. I guess that's all I'm saying. Maybe he's trying to keep somewhat of a mystery to the other characters, because I guess the short guy with the cigar is the only guy who's actually seen him, right?
yeah. I
At least
again,
at this point, like seen his face, seen him awake.
we get another cool establishing shot. The thieves arrive back at, I guess, what their home base is. They're very okay about this having gone horribly wrong. They went to all the effort to break into a facility, steal disc, then in their escape, they get driven off the road by trying to avoid a kid, but then immediately jump out of their van, slap a kid, and then grab two kids and jump into their van and drive off. And then that van gets shot, crash again, get into a fight, have the disc taken back, and then they just get back home like, oh well, that day didn't work out. No biggie.
Yes, a nod.
Yeah, they don't care. Why should I care? Like it's very annoying. But also this introduction of Pitt, I feel like the Max, like this should be the Max laying on that couch. Just the Max off of one of his weird nights out, and he didn't make it back home to Julie's or the box, and now he's laid out on the couch. This would be the perfect spot for him.
Yeah, it's just kind of an odd way to introduce him to in the issue. I'm like, was Pitt getting drunk at the strip club last night or something? Like, and he's kind of sleeping it off. Like,
Yeah,
just kind of weird. And of course, Pitt's not going to have obviously any real effect on the plot here. So he's just here to because Mark Silvestri wants to draw him. I think.
yeah, yeah. He does not change things. It's a better appearance than Spawn in Shadowhawk, where it really
Yeah,
felt like, why have you wasted our time with this? This
yeah.
serves a purpose. Here, there's at least a little back and forth, and
There's a sequence involving Pitt, so yeah, I'll give you that for sure. Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
yeah, it is funny. It's just a nonchalant of like, yeah, this guy just need to crash on the couch, and I wasn't gonna tell him no, and like, we're mutants, and I don't know, he looks weird, so like, whatever.
We're
Yeah,
all
man,
freaks. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
we got
wonder
all
if that
lined up.
the short guy, the rock guy, with the cigar. Now you can see
Yeah,
he's got a cigar. Is this once again like one of the image guys trying to homage Jack Kirby in this kind of slightly offensive way?
it's more
You
subtle.
know,
Well, this would be the most subtle one then.
I'm just wondering because we know Rob has them, Jim
Uh-huh.
has them, Mark has them. It makes sense. All the kind of team book guys have them, and it's all a short midget guy who smokes a cigar. So
Yeah. Also,
we're all
cigarette smoking, cigar smoking was more common at the time on television and in movies. So it's
But that's a pretty Jack Kirby's
yeah,
known for his cigar smoking. So knowing that, I know for sure Rob and Jim, that's their homage to Jack Kirby. That's explicit. I'm just wondering if Silvestri is doing a bit of that here. Just the cigar is what's throwing me off there. But anyways, I
oh
like this shot
also,
of oh,
Pitt's already out at this time. So Pitt number one's out. And then this is months later that Cyberforce number 3 comes out. So people would know who he is. This isn't a setup like an appearance before his comic comes out. And also the Max is out already at this point. Max was out 2 months ago. So people know who that is. So yeah. I just like to imagine them both being on separate couches in this room.
yeah. Well, anyways, we are going to get a Pitt Max crossover, anyways,
Yeah.
right? So in the Max, so yeah. So I was going to jump over to this next page, talking once again about this is a nice shot of the X-Men in the Blackbird. I don't even the Wildcat ship looks different to me than the X-Men ship, right? It's a similar concept, but I feel like Jim Lee put some effort. Looks a little bit more manga kind of influence and stuff. This to me looks exactly like the Blackbird. Is it not? It's not any different.
I mean, based on what little I'm seeing of it, it is very similar. And as we recall in issue 1, it's
basically the same ship.
Yeah, super similar. Yeah. Yeah, it's not great. And then this page is just the setup of like there's a very Marvel setup here. And it's in a lot of the comics too, of like, oh, we've got 2 cool good guys. We gotta throw some kind of wacky situation that they end up punching each other. So they're just arriving where the van is, where they think, oh yeah, okay, so they've got Timmy, Velocity, we gotta come grab them. And then they get there and the van blows up just immediately. And Heatwave there is flying in to check out the van, but Ripclaw somehow psionically through his like this isn't how tracking works. Like tracking footprints doesn't allow you to go, wait, something.
There's explosives. Yeah.
So,
he's probably got the nose like Wolverine, right? He can like smell things. I don't know.
Yeah, okay.
But sure. they don't actually say it. Like there's no indication yet that Ripclaw has some sort of heightened senses. At least I didn't get any sense of that specifically.
The great spirits are warning me that maybe that's
Something
it.
like that, right? Yeah.
He's clearly checking things out, and then Fresh Prince, too heavy, just as I suspected. Oh, okay. You could have alluded to that earlier.
What does that mean? The person walking in was carrying a huge load of explosives? Is that what he's, concluding from that?
Yeah, I mean, if that other if Buzzcut was there, this would make sense because he was huge. Even seems Psychotron's actually pretty big, but yeah, it's a wacky setup. Get the explosion goes off, and then Impact just goes racing in, and Pitt, looking completely ominous, hunched over Heatwave's body, so that Impact should immediately be like, oh no, I gotta fight that guy. But they do the Marvel thing of, and we saw this in Wildcats too, where the Wildcats were like, oh no, we were prepared, but not for Youngblood.
Yeah.
Impact comes in like, oh no, look at that guy. He's clearly a real heavy hitter. So it's such an absurd setup. And it's like, hey, Pitt, if you're not trying to look like you did this, why are you hunched over? I'm like, yeah. Because as we'll see, it like plays out where then Pitt's explaining and like, oh, this is what actually happened. And like, well, then why aren't you holding the guy looking concerned or something? You looked like you did this. So,
well, once again, I'm going to blame it on the fact that he needed a money shot. And that's why Pitt looks so aggressive and dangerous, right? Because Mark Silvestri's like, this is, one of the 2 shots in the book where I got to make Pitt look really cool. And he does. It's a good pin-up shot. You know what I mean? But again, storytelling wise, it's the art and the actual writing in the book, kind of fighting each other.
Yeah. Because if he ran in and instead we got like Pitt like this, and he's like holding him and like looks up and like, I didn't do this, and then maybe still get punched. Like Impact doesn't stop in time.
Yeah.
That could create some impact. It's create impact in the story. Or
That's a
even
nice one.
impact stops, and as they stand there looking at each other, boom, the shock troops show up, the shock agents, and then like, oh, that's the enemy. Let's go. We'll go get them. Let's do it together. You could just avoid this silly exchange of our guys fighting just to have them fighting and still have Pitt and it'd be cool.
For sure. And I mean, listen, even Impact's dialogue, the holy shit there that he says, I mean, that's really taking up a lot of real estate. That's a pretty big word balloon. I get making the lettering a little bit bigger, so he's yelling or saying it really loud, but that's a bit much. Where I feel like you're covering up a lot of the art for nothing there, you know. And the other thing I'll say though, art wise, again, I like the panel, that close up of Impact's face. You've got the corners kind of breaking off into almost like explosions, or like, I've rarely seen panels kind of drawn that way, and I think it's pretty cool. Actually, it's pretty interesting.
All right. Yeah.
Oh, and this is hilarious to me too, because we've just had, CyberForce showing up with a ship, you know,
Uh-huh.
and now
Oh,
these guys show up with the ship, and they're
yeah,
they're
yeah.
they're doing it. They're doing it Youngblood style. Cyberforce actually landed like civilized
Uh-huh.
people and got
Uh-huh.
out, but these guys just young-blooded it out of the ship.
Yeah, even people who don't have a flying power. It's not like, why isn't Killjoy and Psychotron, and actually the other energy guy, he can't fly either. Like, they should be on lines coming down and they could be blasting while they're on the lines, because the people coming down with them at least have jetpacks or some sort of like wing flying apparatus.
They've got some sort of, yeah.
Yeah.
Listen, something keeping them aloft for sure. But yeah, nowhere is it established that any of these characters fly. I guess, with cybernetic enhancements, maybe that's what allows them to do the superhero jump out of the ship, landing,
Uh,
whatever. Just, yeah, I don't know. Art wise, I just wanted to mention, we talked about earlier a few pages that for sure I felt like Dan Panosian had inked. I think we're kind of in the section here where Silvestri's inking himself. I think he's keeping the pit pages, especially for himself, and he's inking them himself. And pretty soon there'll be some pages that I assume are some Trevor Scott pages that I'll point out. But I definitely feel here, when I look at that close up shot of Pitt's face down there, that really, those markings are really telltale kind of Mark Silvestri inking. It's always a little bit rougher than like when Scott Williams does it. Art still looks stellar.
oh yeah, that's also, yeah, interesting, having switched up the inkers. Didn't was Mark Williams,
Scott Williams isn't on this issue. So we've got
yeah.
Panosian, Silvestri, and Trevor Scott.
Okay, Mark Silvestri inked himself in the first one, or excuse me, in issue 2 he inked himself, and
I think issue, and Scott Williams did issue 1, something like that. I may
so
be misremembering that, but yeah, there's been already a bit of rotation.
yeah, so
Um,
he inked
and
himself
and
in the last issue. This one he has a couple of helpers and still inking
yeah,
some of it himself.
and this seems a lot of the image guys did that too. They got some helpers along the way, right? Mostly the team book guys. Rob did it, Jim did it.
Yeah,
So yeah, I mean, I don't have much more to say about this page.
yeah, and then Impact gets a shot in, and then it's like, oh no, I've seen that look before. That's what Ripclaw looks like when he's about to bam, and then
You got
Impact.
time to think all that, but not maybe get out of the way or something.
Well, it's comic book.
Ah,
Yeah, and
bad comic book.
he basically gets knocked out of the story for a little while. He's just he's just gone. Uh yeah, it's weird. I mean, now we've got Cyblades running over to Heatwave to try to help out, and you'll see that she's thinking. So she's like, Heatwave's getting up, but he's in no condition to do battle. I've got to get him out of here. She's thinking that. And then Psychotron, although it does not point correctly to him, like the balloon tail should go behind Cyblade to get over to Psychotron so that we know it's coming from him. But he
Yeah,
says, oh, I wouldn't worry too much about him. Why do you say that? She said she internally said, I need to get to Heatwave. And he vocally goes, I wouldn't worry about him.
yeah, like he responds to her thoughts, which
Yeah,
he's not supposed to be able to hear, right?
yeah. there's a whole lot of this mind reading going on. Ripclaw's like, it's not, footprints, heavy, wait, don't go to the van. Something else going on. And there's going to be more of that. It's just,
Oh yeah. There's
yeah,
a lot more of that.
just put in a spoken word balloon, and then you wouldn't run into this problem. And then Pitt immediately switches sides. Pitt's just immediately like, wait. I know I just punched that other guy when he came at me, but you just look bad. I just know you're evil. I don't know your conflict, but you're not good.
Well, yeah, his actual dialogue here, he says, Killjoy says, this is no concern of yours. And he retorts, mutant cyborg terrorists planting car bombs in a house I happen to be sleeping in is of great concern to me. How does he know all this? How does he know any of this?
Yeah.
We know it because we read the story, but Pitt doesn't know any of, yeah. But I mean, we know that there's cyborg terrorists and that there was a car bomb. How is Pitt was sleeping and the car bomb goes off? He woke up and went, must have been a car bomb. Like it would have been maybe a bomb, but he doesn't know specifically.
Yeah. Right.
It's very odd to me.
Yeah. All this mind reading that's going on. It's all just it's all them just going like, well, we forgot to do this. So we're just gonna have somebody say it. We'll just have him just relate the plot. We just got to get the plot out there because we didn't put it on the page. So
yeah,
put it in words. I do like this sequence of Killjoy just being like, oh, well, forget you. Take this and one of these, and here's a knee, and here's a foot to the face, and Pitt just being like, yeah, yeah. But I wish it ended the way it should, which there should be her doing a bunch of stuff and then having one of those like, and him just doing the
flick,
the flick or whatnot, just some small. But instead, they have one of the thief guys come in and like, oh, this is my chance to get you back for earlier.
Who all of a sudden also his proportions are off from what we've seen before because now his thigh is like pretty long as opposed to what we saw before. Kind of a weird inconsistency there.
Oh,
right, because he's the kind of, we've seen him earlier with really short legs. He's a midget. He's compressed.
Yeah.
This whole sequence that you mentioned with Killjoy, punching him, I wonder if Mark Silvestri had seen Fists of the North Star by this point, right? So kind of reminiscent. What's great with Fists of the North Star is it happens. The other guy's like, ha ha ha, that didn't do anything, and that's when like their head explodes. I don't know if you've ever seen Fists of the North Star. It's definitely worth watching.
No.
Some old, some early '80s anime, and so you've got your hero character, and when he meets up with the bad guys are always kind of Mad Max inspired and really much bigger than him and big bullies and stuff. And what often happens is they square off, and you'll just have that anime sequence of the character going, what the, he's like punching 200 punches a second or something, and then he stops, and then the other character's like, that didn't do anything. Bah, ha, ha. What's all your kung fu magic, blah, blah, blah. And then a few seconds later, you kind of see their head just, and they start to distort. And then the heads just like explode. And there's blood flying everywhere. It's pretty fun. It's pretty over the top.
All right, 1, 2, 3, and we're back. I just had to fix that horrific lighting issue that was going on for a second there. So now that that's out the way, man, they continue on with this Nexus battle. I mean, you've got the Shocks with their troops. You've got the thieves. You've got CYBERFORCE minus Stryker because he just went off on his own, which interesting is not mentioned by anybody. No one's like,
all of a sudden he's just not there.
Yeah, they're not like,
and no one says anything.
Is Stryker coming? No, he took off on. He said he had some personal business he needed to take care of. Anything, but then just like, come on, team. Nope. Okay, it's just us now. Okay, all right. We get this little, it makes some sense, but with the Pitt and Ripclaw thing where they do the like, I am a great warrior and I am proud to fight alongside you, because us warriors from all over, whenever we meet another true warrior, we're just like, we are all one.
We got to make note of that. right? Like we're both warriors, we're both pretty awesome. Yeah. Yeah, I've always wondered with this bit of text, like when I read it, it makes me laugh, right? Because I'm like, with all this action and cutting and slashing, these guys have time to kind of be dialoguing and throwing compliments at each other in this pretty intense fight. Um, you know, I have to hope that the writer is self-aware enough that it's done on purpose and kind of for laughs, but I don't know that for a fact. But to me, I mean, I can't help but laugh at this whole exchange between them. And on top of that, it's on this really kind of super action-packed, really beautiful illustration here. I think this shot of Pitt and Ripclaw here, and an interesting way of doing a double page splash where you get that money shot, but then again you've got the extra paneling, which still moves as little of a plot as there is in this book,
Yeah.
still moves the plot along a little bit there. And I definitely think this is one of those uh, diamond pages that Silvestri kept for himself and inked himself. I definitely see all the telltale signs of Silvestri inking on this one, and it's one of the better looking pages in the book. Not that the other ones don't look good, but this is just beautiful stuff art wise.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Doing that, the angled shot, and also, it's not as wide, like it's wider over on one side than it is on the other side. So that helps make it unique and interesting.
Dynamic. Yeah.
Story wise, Impact got hit one time and was knocked out of the rest of this encounter. Then Pitt hit Psychotron, who immediately is like, I'm back.
Well, yeah, power level wise, then we can assume Psychotron can just beat the crap out of Impact.
Yeah, yeah. Why is Psychotron handling this so well? And Impact's just, hey, I'm gonna go grab a coffee, guys. I'll be back. I'll be back when the fight's over. Just let me
And
know.
surprising that Silvestri would let one of his own guys, have Pitt go over on him.
I feel like it's more of a, like, if Pitt weren't in this comic, this would just be Impact doing this stuff. So
Yeah,
that now he's got Pitt, so it's like, well, I'm just gonna get my big guy out of the way because I'm gonna have Pitt do this stuff.
we've already got a big guy,
Yeah,
and
if
he's
Pitt
much
weren't
cooler
here,
than my own big guy. Yeah.
Impact would have just ran in, and it would be him and Ripclaw back to back doing the fighting, and so
No one's buying Cyberforce for Impact, right?
now,
If you looked at the cover of this issue, you bought it for Pitt.
yeah, definitely not. Uh, then there's a weird thing because we get Chip shows back up because they I guess, was he in the jet with them?
I didn't see him, but we're gonna have to assume that he was.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, so he shows back up.
Because also you see him in that first panel at the bottom left there, just kind of walking down the street into the scene. It's kind of weird.
Maybe he just got off the ship. Maybe
Earlier, he's like, guys, drop me off at this gas station. I'll take a piss. You guys go off to the fight, and I'll just run and meet up with you guys.
yeah, I'm trying to imagine that that's a bit of the ship back there. But
Could be. Oh, I see what you're saying. I always assumed it was just silhouette of buildings, but
but then
could
Pitt has
be.
another he has a psychic moment here where he's like, I sense
Yeah,
sadness in that boy, and I'm like, boy, that's a grown man inventor. Because
yeah.
now I would think he's talking about Timmy. That would make
That's what I assumed when I just read the dialogue, right? And then I realized, same as you, I was like, but that's Chip. And I mean, look at that super chiseled jawline. That's a man. That's not a kid.
yeah.
I do like that shot of Pitt just like really quickly throwing one of the shock
Oh,
troops behind him there. I like that
nonchalantly.
little bit of little somewhat, I don't know, violent humor.
Yeah.
And for some reason, his scream, I hear the Willem scream, right, that they use in movies a lot. You know about this scream?
Yes. Yep.
It's in
Yeah.
like so
It's
many
been used
movies.
in movie after movie.
That's what I hear right here.
Yeah. And so when I like this scene now, Pitt mentally kind of guesses what's going on. And before he was able to mentally guess about the explosives and who's the bad
The
guy.
car bomb. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because he walks up to Chip and he's like, "Oh, you seek a small child. His name is Timmy. I too seek someone by that name." And like, when did you learn that? If Pitt knows all this, then why did he ever get in the fight with Impact? Why didn't he just go, "Whoa, whoa, I'm not your enemy"?
Oh, I know your whole backstory and your whole mission, and I know more so than you do, probably.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah,
Yes.
it's pretty funny. And I don't know if this had been established yet in the actual Pitt mini series yet, because in the first few issues, Pitt really doesn't talk a lot.
No.
So
Yeah.
if I remember back to when I was a kid, I feel like this is the first time we just got a lot of talking from Pitt. And I was like kind of surprised to find that, I assume Silvestri, maybe because there wasn't so much done already in the Pitt comic, he maybe called up Dale Kuhn's like, all right, man, so how does this guy talk? Because he hasn't talked much in your book and blah, blah, blah. And, Dale Kuhn's probably like, well, he's actually very kind of literate and verbose, and he doesn't talk like the Hulk. He's a smart individual. And it's almost like this issue of Cyberforce 3 establishes that even before the actual Pitt series does itself. And so it was a little jarring for me as a kid. I remember reading it and going, oh, is that how Pitt is meant to talk? I was like, okay, maybe like I didn't hate it. It's just maybe not what I expected. But I do remember this. It's almost like, we got a little bit more Pitt characterization in this issue of Cyberforce than we had at that point in the actual series. Obviously, if the guy doesn't talk, we're not going to learn a lot about him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What did we truly know about Pitt in those first few issues? He's just a big guy who's got claws and is super strong, right? And he's looking for a kid, looking for Timmy.
Yeah. Looking for Timmy.
Timmy.
I think the last little thing I have on this is where Pitt has his talking. I understand it was an honest mistake, and then he has another word balloon. And why are those not connected? Like the balloon tail of the second one should lead to the first balloon so that you understand it's him talking. Here's him talking more. Because since it's a separate word balloon with a separate balloon tail, I'm looking for who the speaker is. It should be a separate speaker.
Yeah, it's another example of also that weird thing where, you know, Pitt for as violent and aggressive and big and strong as he looks, he's very emotionally in tune, with his own feelings and also those of people around him. Because as they're maiming these soldiers with their claws and making them bleed all over the place, um, you mentioned a little bit of what he says. I feel like we just got to read that balloon because it's the funniest thing in this book. I do not know the nature of this conflict, but you do know that it's a cybernetic terrorist. So
Yeah.
you do kind of know the nature of the conflict, right? He just said that the page prior.
Cybernetic mutant.
But I sent right,
Yeah.
like, but I sense again, Pitt sensing a lot here that you are much like myself, a true warrior, and I'm honored to fight at your side. Like the speed at which Pitt is able to come to these conclusions, he's genius level, um, uh, emotionally in tune.
Yeah.
It's pretty interesting.
It's impressive.
Really
Uh,
offsets how he actually looks, right? And
Yeah.
like his actual presence.
So now it's 2:45. Pitt has taken his exit. He's just left off screen, kinda. Impact's back. So if you got rid of Pitt, it would have been Impact during that fight, and it wouldn't seem out of place. So Impact shows back up and just advances the plot for us, even though he wasn't involved. He just
Do
shows
you
back up.
do you think it's possible that some of these pages were already drawn up and it was Impact, like maybe just in the penciling stages, and then because they, oh, let's try and maybe fit Pitt into here. How can I do that here? And you said Impact could replace Pitt anywhere pretty much along these few pages. Maybe that's what actually happened. And he
Yeah.
just modified a few panels. Like you said, oh, we got to get rid of Impact because now it's Pitt. So maybe some of those early sketches of those pages or early layouts were actually featuring Impact. I'm just throwing that out there,
Yeah.
but it seems very possible.
Makes sense. Definitely possible. Impact shows up though, and he's like, "Oh, Kamada set this up." Kamada, I think, was that guy that Mother May I met with earlier. That was like her assistant in issue
The
1.
Asian guy, or he's like the representative from Cyberdata or something. I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, I think
I
that.
think we find out more about him next issue, right?
Let's hope so. It's really a
A
confusing.
little bit of backstory there.
Too many
This
people, and
this
And so this is where he tells us the fact that, like, oh, he hired the thieves to steal the disc and then hired the Shocks to steal them back so that it would make the mutants look bad, but he would also have the disc. But again, we don't know what's on the disc, so we don't know why anybody
Yeah.
cares at all about any of this.
And we get this once again, this thought balloon that is so funny again and filled with exposition. I have
Yeah.
to read it. No one will admit it, but the scent of fear is unmistakable. Ooh, Ripclaw, maybe he does have that sense of smell I was talking about. Fear of what will happen to Timmy and the Fawn now that Cyberdata has them. I think you could have just had this shot, this exact same shot of the Cyberforce characters without that word balloon, then just kind of looking off in the distance. And you probably would have gotten a little bit of that sense, even if it wasn't so specific, that they're worried about what's going to happen next, basically, is what he's saying here. But he's so specific about, what will happen to Timmy and the Fawn. I don't think it needed to be said. It's just more kind of added on dialogue that fights with the art. It's like in those moments in movies where, like, I forget who I was watching. Some podcast was explaining, I think it was Film Threat. He was talking about how you never have scenes in movies anymore where a character's just sitting there not saying anything, like contemplating, thinking, soaking something in that maybe someone else said, right? Characters are always just explaining how they feel. Well, there's a little bit of that here. That's what I feel here. It's like, you take that big shot of all the characters kind of looking off in the distance and not saying anything, and that kind of says it. You know what I mean? That they're contemplating this whole situation. You don't have to tell people. That's my sense of it, anyways.
Yeah.
I'm always a less dialogue kind of guy generally.
I hear your point on that one, and I would wonder if that has to do with films being cut down in length. Or films are that used like a 3-hour film used to not be crazy, but I feel like films have become shorter in length, so maybe you have to do more faster. You don't have
Maybe I've heard theories too, like with this recent one of the criticisms of the recent season of Stranger Things is there were a lot of scenes where there's long exposition where they're explaining things, and it happened a lot, right? And there's this new phenomenon apparently that when they're making and producing TV shows, they know that a lot of people are watching and also on their phone.
Oh,
so they might be, because of those moments where they're inattentive to whatever they're watching, they're on their phone, they might be missing some plot points. So you have to have characters all throughout maybe each episode kind of reiterating the basic plot points. Kind of like Marvel Comics always has that little synopsis at the beginning, Peter Parker bitten by a radioactive, like they give you the gist of what you need to know to understand the comic that you're going to be reading. But yeah, like I hope that's not what's happening in TV and movies and stuff, but when I heard that, I was like, that kind of makes sense. I can kind of see that, unfortunately. People's attention span is so short and it's so quick for them to switch off what they're watching to go to their phone that they're just going to have these little moments all throughout each episode reiterating the plot and the important plot points. Which is sad.
Then they need a warning ahead of time. Note, lots of story coming. Put your phone down before you start watching, or you'll miss the experience.
Yeah, because listen, I'm the kind of person, like when I watch something, I like it to be very immersive. So if I'm watching Stranger Things or a movie, I'm not on my phone. Like I will consciously, put it aside, turn the volume off, and I'm very attentive because the kind of storytelling that I like. If you turn away for a second, you might miss an important plot point or an important little detail or something. The kind of shows that I like to watch. But there seems to be less and less of that. Like I'm really into Stanley Kubrick, and I mean, he's the master of doing things visually and not explaining things with dialogue. Not that there isn't any dialogue or that there's never any kind of exposition-y dialogue. It could happen, but generally he's able to get his ideas across visually, right? Which, of course, because I like comics and stuff, that just really works with me, and I like his type of movie. But I don't feel like someone like Stanley Kubrick, if he was making movies today, he probably wouldn't be popular because people would be like, boring, or that would be the reaction to it. Like, I don't understand what's going on. Sometimes it's a little bit okay to not get all of it all at once too.
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, that makes complete sense. I guess I was also thinking when you used to watch a show and you had to watch it on television and there were commercials, those were your breaks to do the other things. You're watching, you're engaged. Oh,
Yeah.
commercials, check it out, doing other things, get on a phone call, make a note about something, get up, go grab a drink.
Grab a snack,
Yeah,
go pee. Yeah, for sure.
you don't have those mental pauses. So this next page,
Yeah,
yeah,
go ahead. Sorry.
okay, this next page, we get this dream sequence, and all we learn is that Velocity, I guess I don't remember if we'd learned before she had a sister. I think we knew she had a sister. Oh yeah, we knew she had a
There was
sister.
a flashback sequence in issue 1, right?
Yeah. So like we kind of see her sister there, we see her mom, but her mom's just being mean. Like mom, don't
Yeah.
go. Like, nah, I gotta go. No, I won't see you
Yeah.
again. It's not a like
Got
a
to abandon you.
heartfelt, yeah. So it's very much left like it's a painful, hurtful memory. Now maybe they could say, hey, this is from the point of view of the child who feels hurt, and it feels this way to the child rather than this being how it actually happened. But we don't learn anything further.
No.
There's no information given via reading this.
Mom possibly abandoned you. Because again, is this a flashback? Is this a dream sequence? It's not 100% clear.
Yeah, it's not. And then they wake up in the cell. There's some nice white space there. She's waking up and it's like, oh, I got the bad dream. Memories trying to come through. What's going on? And then it's kind of a funny sequence of like Timmy is totally your R2D2 in this, where he he already swallowed the disc, downloaded the info, and then it's like you can't have the info unless you've got the codes. So they got to try to get the disc info back from him. And now it's just like, oh, it's time to get out of somewhere. Doop, 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 doop. There you go. I opened it for
Yeah,
you.
he's just like the multi-purpose tool that can get you out of any situation, right?
Yeah. It was
And
nice.
like Mother May I earlier clearly is aware that he's a highly, advanced technological robot.
Yeah.
So he leaves her in the cell with Velocity. That doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah. Yep. Let me lock you up with this highly advanced robot. So they just immediately escape and are moving around the empty facility where there's no one
No
around.
guards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. It also struck me as like, can we get one Image comic without an amnesiac in it? I mean, you got Spawn's an amnesiac. Savage Dragon doesn't remember his past or anything. Over on Wildcats, Jacob Marlowe is having to relearn who he is. And then over here in Cyberforce, we got one too. Plus the Max, obviously. Didn't know who he was.
That's to me, that's the Wolverine effect, man. Wolverine was so popular late 80s, early 90s. The mysterious past, you don't know much about him. He himself doesn't even know. I really feel like that's the Wolverine effect for sure.
Yeah.
There's such a big plot point about Wolverine. And again, we've already talked about how many elements of Wolverine have been incorporated into multiple Image comics. So,
yeah,
on many different levels. You mentioned the white space there. I thought it was a bit odd when I got to this page. I was like,
yeah.
Did he leave out a panel or something? Or, like I just thought it was odd that you would leave that much negative space. It was weird to me. I don't know if there's a panel that he drew that he figured I could just take out. It didn't work or something. Listen, if you're going to leave it like this too, I also think that maybe this is a good opportunity. Find a way to get those word balloons in that panel to kind of move more into the negative space off to the right, so that you don't, if you have that space, how about not obscuring the art? You know what I mean? And use, if the word balloons were moved over to the right a little bit, I don't think it would be as noticeable that there's that big empty space there.
Yeah, both the layouts for the pages go from the corner down to the corner.
Maybe it's a thing that he was trying to do. Yeah, it's like the upper right is negative space. I think it works better on the right hand side than on the left hand side for some reason.
Yeah. So then so Timmy, Velocity, they're sneaking through this facility. They get to this control room, whatever it is, where Mother May I is, and they're talking about, like, okay, we're re-wiping the mind, and then we're gonna put these memories back in to set Velocity back up to be an assassin, and then Velocity being like, well, oh no, I'm not sticking around for that. Let's get out of here.
And once again, no guards protecting the two most high executive important people in cyber data, or at least one of them and the person working with them. Like, it just
Yeah,
doesn't make sense to me.
absolutely.
Also, that guy at the guy at the console to me has a very kind of Star Wars design. You know, one of the guys, the minions on the Death Star. I don't know if that's just me seeing that there, but
Oh,
you know, like those weird green uniforms they have. I don't know. It just reminds me of Death Star workers.
I do like that final panel where it's almost all blacked out in the border, but there's just enough lines so that you know it's the technology of the ceiling and the side of the wall, so it stays consistent. And then the silhouettes, but you've got the red hair, so it totally identifies as velocity.
Yeah, it's almost like a slight kind of Frank Miller take, but I wouldn't like aesthetically it's different, but
Mhm.
the high contrast. And I do like the fact that the negative space of like the tunnel that they're running into breaks off and you don't get the complete kind of panel line. I think that's a nice little touch there, and it opens it up again, leading your eye to the page flip. So it's a really clever kind of panel overall, even the tilt of it and everything.
Yeah. And then this again I reiterate, like, why are they mind wiping velocity to be this assassin? They've got people that are already better at it. Some of whom you might not even need to mind wipe them, right? You just have them go do it. They
They're
don't.
just willing to do it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's weird.
Mercenaries.
And then this scene's weird. Mother
Yes.
guy is just standing on a roof, acting like she's talking to the Statue of Liberty, and
Yeah.
that the Statue of Liberty is talking back. Eh, And then the guy's kind of like, "Are you really talking to him?"
I think the guy is there almost to replace us as the reader, going like, "How fucking weird is this?"
Yeah.
And again, I do think, you know, I don't think Mark Silvestri was necessarily trying to establish that in the art when before the dialogue was thrown in. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just they're in New York City, so on top of a building. It's an establishing shot. You know, the easiest way is to have the Statue of Liberty in the foreground. You know that's New York right away, right? But that she's having a conversation with her is just a weird story element. Yeah, always
Yeah,
struck me as weird.
American New Yorker moment in a way. I guess if the speech was a little more of her identifying as an American, but feeling like a abandoned or abused American, and like, no, no, I do believe in this, but we've got to correct some things.
But even how she says it too, like, listen,
Mhm.
Mother May I, not the character who's been most established up to this point in the miniseries, but I still feel like she's talked enough where I kind of understand somewhat of her speech pattern, kind of typical villainy, fairly verbose, literate person. And then talk to the old lady last night. Like, that
Mhm.
just doesn't seem like how she would say that. You know what I mean? It doesn't sound like how she would express herself. It's just a very odd choice here.
Yeah, yeah, it is odd. And then she basically tells her assistant, like, hey, goodbye, and it's a goodbye in a very we won't see each other again kind of way.
Yeah. At least the building itself is consistent. It's that same building we saw earlier in the establishing shot. So
Yeah, the art's
art wise, I appreciate that.
yeah,
And we just one, but we get another extra shot of Warbuck down there, my favorite character ever
yeah.
in CyberForce. So I'm going to point him out every time he's there.
I should have checked in. So it was 4:37. Now we're over to 5:48, and now that scene we saw earlier where there were the protesters outside the residence building, and the one mutant who was the speaker took the reporter hostage. We're back there now.
Yeah.
So police and SWAT are there, and you
And
really,
Stryker.
yeah, and Stryker's there, and you can't quite tell, but Mother May I, that's her car busting through the police cars. So she's breaking the line, racing to the building, rather than trying to talk her way in or use her manipulation powers that she has to get them to
Right.
let her in. Instead, they're just busting through. Warbuck jumps out, gets shot, and then Stryker, who's hanging back, then leaps in and is her guardian angel all of a sudden. Um, so it does seem like from the previous issue two, he was asked to get close to get some kind of intel.
Yeah.
So this is him ingratiating himself by leaping in, keeping her alive. You'd have to do that to get information from somebody, but also saving her. So more reason.
But these are all, let's be honest, these are still kind of assumptions to a certain extent. We don't know exactly why all of a sudden he's there and he's going to be protecting Mother May I. I guess it has been established that he's sympathetic to the mutant cause, I guess, because he was bodyguard for that guy who almost got shot in the first issue, right?
Well, we had the two guys who showed up at their gas station.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, the shady agency guys. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
who were like, we need somebody to get close and get intel. We haven't been.
Okay, okay, that makes sense. Okay, at least that. Well, you know what? I'll say at least that plot point is explained. So I missed that one, but
Yeah,
there's
it's
an
further,
explanation.
but
Yeah.
yes, it's not.
Poor Warbuck here, though. Like,
Yeah,
we're in the early '90s. He's got a cool look. You can't give him some early '90s guns. He's just got some two little simple, fairly realistic handguns, 9 millimeters or something. Give this guy a cable gun or something. Like, come on.
he didn't even get to buck anybody either. Like his dying motion wasn't he got shot, but then he like charged.
Yeah, or if his gun, like he had a buckshot gun or something, you know what I mean? Like,
Right.
would that be thematically? Wouldn't that work?
Yeah.
Yeah, already injured. My favorite character, and he's already getting taken out.
Yeah. He was very quick. Warbuck was just cannon fodder. Yes. Then I mean, they managed to get inside the place. So there's the mutants and the speaker, and they've got the girl, and then SWAT attacks. So they drop a smoke grenade in, shoot one in, probably from a grenade launcher. And then when they run in and Stryker's blasting them, he does one of those thought balloons that's for us, the reader, like, hey, sorry, fellas. I mean, this is weird dialogue, this weird inner monologue. Sorry, fellas. I know these high speed stun rounds are
Yes,
painful, but at least they're not permanent. Like, well, then speak that. It should be spoken word. Like he's saying it to them. Why
this
is he
was the one
saying that to
example I
himself?
wanted to point out that totally should have been a dialogue balloon. It's not a thought. I mean, you can have it as a thought balloon, but I mean,
Yeah.
it just makes way more sense for him to say something like that out loud. Of course, 100%.
It's just, yeah, it's weird. So you got Cyblade earlier of like, oh, I gotta get to Heatwave and check on him. And she thinks that, but then Psychotron's like, oh, you shouldn't worry about him. You got to worry about yourself. Like,
How did he hear that? Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
yeah, this happens a lot. But yeah, I mean, Stryker manages to shoot those guys down, so he immediately gains Mother May I's trust. And then
Well,
they're,
she tells us again in a thought balloon, right?
yeah, yeah, I'll
Be
be waiting.
waiting for you, Mr. Stryker, right?
Why does she
I
say
can
that?
see now just how nicely you would fit into my plans.
Yeah, so why not break off the first part? I'll be waiting for you, Mr. Stryker, and then go into a thought balloon.
I can see how you would. Yeah, that would be
Yeah,
more. Yeah, absolutely. That would be the part you would want to not say out loud.
yeah,
Exactly.
far more effective. And
Yeah.
then we get that the mutant speaker, and he's still holding the reporter, but Stryker's like, no, he knocks that guy out, and then basically asks her, like, hey, just tell them that he let you go so that that'll help bring down the situation.
Yeah, the tension.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just say OJ's not guilty. Let's just, it's one of those situations.
Yeah.
Um, I did want to mention though, it's very convenient to me that the mutant guy has got the reporter gun to the head, right?
Yeah.
Holding the hostage,
Yeah.
and Stryker can just whack him with his three arms all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Like, no him getting closer or he's really fast and agile. No, the guy just is really slow on the trigger, and Stryker was able to punch him out before he harmed the hostage. Kind of weird, kind of convenient.
Yeah, it would have also been cool if the three arms had separate actions. Like if one arm grabbed the gun and the other arm grabbed his head and the third arm punched the head.
Listen, with the multiple arms, you've got so many options. Like, it would even be cool if, let's say, he still has his trench coat and this guy doesn't know who Stryker is. So, like, he's got his trench coat on. He's like, hey, man, he puts up two of his arms and he's like,
Right.
And he's slowly getting closer. I don't want to see anyone hurt. And then, boom, one of those mystery arms comes
Yeah.
out of the trench coat. That would make more sense to me,
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a very good point.
You've got options here with a guy with four arms. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Also, kind of weird how, just go back one sec.
Yeah.
Kind of weird how the position of the journalist on the ground almost looks like she punched him as well. Like they're like double teaming him.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you're right, because she does have her fist across this way.
It almost looks like,
Yeah.
so I maybe would have moved her arm a bit just so there's no, it just looks a little odd.
Yeah, the only real difference is she doesn't have action lines to suggest, but otherwise body positioning, it totally
Looks
looks
pretty
like
darn close.
if
Yeah.
he was tracing like some of his old figure work and it was one of those double punch scenes.
Oh,
Yeah.
and also real quick,
Mhm.
just because I wanted to mention all the inkers, I definitely feel like if not the page on the left, the page on the right is probably inked by Trevor Scott. If you look at the three bottom panels where the characters are further away, kind of in the middle ground, the background, it's a very kind of thin line that's very reminiscent of the inking on Gen 13. So
Ah,
yeah,
okay.
not a lot of hatching. It looks a little bit more like cleaner, a little bit more Scott Williams, a little bit more Jim Lee-ish.
Hmm. And then our final page, because they rush into this elevator, and my only issue here is they're going into an elevator into some kind of a subterranean base. Why? Like there was no setup before of like letting us know that that building was not just important because it's housing, but because it's also secretly where they've got a mutant operation going on. Then that would let us know even more why the stakes of getting pushed out of that building are important, because it's actually some other hidden thing, but we're never let in on that. Mother May I rushes to the scene. Why would she go there? I don't know why she went there.
We
To
still
help,
have no idea. Yeah.
yeah, help bring the situation down. Well, publicly she didn't do that. Like if she had gone in and used her mental powers to mess with the speaker, have him give up and go out and talk to the police and bring the situation down and hey, look, we're not all the bad guy. That guy messed up, but I came in to help out. I'm the mutant leader and I'm trying to be peaceful. But we don't get any of that. And we don't know where they're dropping into, why this facility is significant, why she would go there. It feels like every step of the way that the information is just not there to give me a reason to care. Stuff just happens.
The whole mutant aspect of the kind of storyline is so badly established visually. It's like
Mhm.
anytime there's any reference to it or something, it's like a little bit of a crowd. Like even in this whole sequence as they approached, I don't think we saw any actual protesters or barely any on the way there with the limousine and all that. Like there's so little established.
Again, another good point. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, there is a bit if I look at it, but it's like, what is it? I don't see any protesters or anything. It's just other people talking about the protesters. There's absolutely no actual protesters in that whole sequence, even though they broke through a barricade and, yeah.
I feel like
Anyways,
another reviewer would say, this comic sucks.
yeah. Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's like it's a visually pretty comic, but I don't know any of these characters. Like there's just nothing. They're a look with a power, and then that's it. That's all they are. We have next to okay, I think we know Stryker has some kind of military background. I think
Yeah.
that's about all we know about him. We don't know anything about why do they join this? Why is this important to them? Are they working for a paycheck or do they actually care about the cause? We don't know. And these, shadowy mayor governor figure, that's all I refer to him as because his name is not stood out enough to be significant. We kind of knew Mother May I had like her assistant was maybe double crossing her, working some other angle. So is that Komoda or is Komoda the governor mayor guy? Or I don't know. And I feel like I'm a fairly intelligent guy. I'm reading these pretty close to back. I ought to have a clue what the plot is. I've had to work really hard to piece part of it together, and I still feel like
You're
I,
not getting all of it. Yeah.
yeah.
Well, we've said it before throughout the review, very convoluted. And I think issue 3 here is just compounds the problem. Like it was already kind of starting to build with issue 1 and 2, where like, I'm not exactly sure where this is supposed to be going. And issue 3 just makes it a whole lot worse, basically. So again, as I said earlier, hopefully issue 4 resolves some of those issues, but I don't feel like that's what's actually going to happen.
Yeah, I think a big thing that's failing with these miniseries is that instead of them, as we mentioned before, instead of them having a story with a beginning and a middle and an end, which so far really only Wildcats actually accomplishes that. Not that it's great, but it does accomplish that you get introduced to some characters. Here's their conflict. Some more elements are introduced, and then they have to go and resolve the conflict, which they do. And now you've got a complete story that you've read.
Yeah.
whether it's good or not. Youngblood, there's no story. Just some
No
things
real
happen.
conclusion, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you kind of have to fight somebody and call it a day. Um, with Spawn, you get this amazing setup in issue 1, and then issue 2, 3, and 4 are almost all just filler. And then it carries on as an ongoing series. Savage Dragon, amazing first issue story-wise with so many elements, so well introduced. And then issue 2 and 3 just kind of meander along to like calling it a day on the mini series, and then the main series starts, and then everything really kicks into high gear. Shadowhawk, we don't really get a story there either. We get an introduction to a character, a lot of possibilities, but the series doesn't go anywhere. That initial miniseries just like, well, hey, here's some info about the guy, and then now go buy the other series, please. And then this one's trying to tell a story, but it's so poorly laid out. I'm really fishing to figure out what's going on. And even when I think I have an idea, I'm still like, who
Not
are these
100%
guys?
sure. Yeah. Yeah, when you've got to fight so hard to just kind of get the basics down of what's going on and what the plot is, it makes for some unenjoyable reading for sure. Great art, but just horrible. I really don't really have any idea what's actually going on.
Yeah.
I do love to see this last shot of Warbuck though. Another cool shot of him.
Oh yeah, Wounded Warbuck.
Wounded Warbuck.
Oh yeah, they gave him a bit of a regular nose though. If he had had an actual deer nose, that would be even funnier. And she does have a couple of Morlockish mutants with her. Like she's clearly the mutant group, but just simplify.
Yeah, definitely. Again, those are definitely Morlocks. Like, man, ripping off the X-Men to no end here.
To simplify the story, Mother May I be the person in charge, have Cyberforce working for her, Stryker maybe stays closer to her a lot of the time as another bodyguard, and then, oh, this mayor, governor guy is trying to give us trouble, and oh, there might be a mole. That one assistant guy you got, Mother May I, he might be a mole, or we can't trust that guy. What's his angle?
So basically the Wildcats plot.
Yeah, same one. Same
At
plot.
least Wildcats, like you said, not the best story, but they kept it simple enough to where you still get a solid beginning, middle, and end. For sure.
Yeah, we understood what was going on.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
we had a somewhat tenuous grasp where here there's no grasp at all.
Right, and each issue fell after the next to reach a conclusion. Like with Savage Dragon, you know, like that first issue is so amazing, all those pieces and how well he tells them, and then you get to issue 2, and it's more of like there's a fight that happens, you get a little more information, and then there's a fight that does kind of advance the plot a little bit, so that's cool. And then you get to issue 3, it's like a couple plot points, and then just a big fight. Let's call it a day.
Issue 2 and 3, we could honestly say there's little extra bits that get tacked on, characterization stuff, but they're mostly fight issues and action issues, which is fine because Larson does that really well. But issue 1 just had more things established, more plot points. There was still action, but you know the focus was on establishing the Savage Dragon as a character.
Yeah, if you missed issue 2 and 3 and went on to the main series, you really would just need a recap of a couple of plot points.
You didn't miss much. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, it could almost have been a one big issue, one shot to start the series. Spawn, pretty much the same. One big one shot and then keep rolling. Anyway, I just, as I read this, I was like, it didn't take me long to read it, but I just was so disappointed by the story of trying to piece it together and figure it out.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Again, we've said it a lot. There's beautiful art in here, but the disconnect between the quality of the art and the quality of the writing and the congruity of those things coming together is just it's not happening in this book. Beautiful art, horrible story, and never the twain shall meet in between. Anyways, we're gonna call that a day. I think we talked enough about CyberForce 3. I think for at least a couple of years. So we will end it, guys, with the regular old spiel that we give you. So everyone out there who's watching the channel, watching the videos, thank you so much for your support. We really do appreciate it. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, but you are watching, please do so below. It only takes a quick second for you, and it helps the channel out, helps us grow, and helps get us out there to other people who are into comic books just like we are. Speaking of comic books, Mark and I make our own. So on Mark's side, you've got the Guano Guy series, you've got Darkest Image, and you've got Kayfabe, The Death of a Super. There it is.
Yeah.
So there's some of Mark's books, and you can check both of those. All three of those things on Big Cartel. And if you're interested in my books, I've got Big Baby, 13 issues of that, and my STARCRASHER one shot, kind of a cosmic sci-fi psychedelic adventure. You can check all of my stuff out at KINGCOMICS.CA. So there you go, guys. Thanks again for watching. Really do appreciate all your loyal support. Mark, thank you so much for joining me once again. It's been fun, as always, taking a look at these old comics that we love from our youth and that we still love today, but maybe with a, an older lens, kind of pick up more on a lot of the criticism that these books used to get back in the day, where we used to be like, no, these are great. So yeah. It's one of those. Yeah, this one was a bit of a disappointment.
Yeah.
But we'll be moving on next time with Shadowhawk #4 is the next one we're doing, right?
No. So this was the end of number 3, so we're on to Youngblood 4, which is
my mistake. Okay, so we're starting over.
Not going to be an uptick from this.
Probably not. Yeah, kind of. Yeah, from what I remember. Anyways, we'll save it for that video there.
All right.
So, thanks again, Mark. Really do appreciate it. Thanks for watching, guys. Have yourselves an awesome day. King Comics presents Big Baby, Volume 1, Issues 1 to 13, 204 pages of story and art. King Comics also presents STARCRASHER one-shot, 32 pages, cosmic sci-fi surrealist adventure. You can find these fine comics at KingComics.CA, at MaximusRex13 on Instagram, or on Facebook, MaxRex or Big Baby.
Like! Subscribe!